Welcome back to another episode here on the Hart Hustle podcast with two people, Michael and Linda. And you guys are coming from Arizona. Is that correct? Is that where we're virtually talking to you guys?
Yep, Tucson, Arizona.
Love it. Love it. It's hot, huh? My best friend told me that Phoenix yesterday was 111 degrees. And me and my wife said, I guess we're not going to Arizona like you asked us to.
Yeah, I
Pretty
think it
hot.
was 102 here yesterday. Not as hot as Phoenix, but too doggone hot.
Oh my God. Born and raised, both of you guys? Or how do you guys get to Arizona?
Yeah,
What?
I'm born and raised. Linda, are you as well?
Yeah, I'm born and raised in Tucson, a desert rat for sure.
Really? Is that what they call desert
That's what
rats?
we call it. We call it the desert rat.
My
Or
my my best
lizards, I guess, too.
Blizzards too.
my, I guess there's something like a roof rat. Is that a thing?
Ooh,
I never
you're
heard
asking
of
the
a
wrong
roof rat.
person.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I didn't
There's
know
the
either.
pack rat over
She was
here.
telling me about that. A pack rat?
Yeah, they're pretty common over
I've
here.
heard of pack rats. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
in
have.
the Northern
Yeah.
Desert, they're
Well,
very
listen,
territorial.
I was supposed to go to Arizona here next month, and I tell you what, I'm already nervous and scared actually of just going because of the things that I hear. I'm in
In July,
Orlando. Well, yeah, we get hurricanes.
you're coming here in
For
July.
good reasons, Linda. Believe me, for good reasons. It is my best friend's baby shower, so it's like she told me I
Aw.
never ask you for anything, so you better be here. So I said, same thing you ask in July. But do I have a say? I don't have a say. I don't have a say.
Yeah.
The desert's
Aw,
beautiful, though. The
Well,
desert is
Michael and Linda,
absolutely beautiful.
it is.
I can't wait. I can't wait to see the mountains as well. I really do love mountains. But Michael and Linda, what organization are you guys representing today?
So we are both with Tucson Youth Development. Been around for over 60 years now here in Tucson, serving youth and disadvantaged communities. So yeah.
And the roles, Michael, what role are you're playing with the organization?
Yeah, so I've been in many roles with the organization, but my current title is executive director.
Love it. And Linda, your role.
Yeah, so I started off as a grant writer for Tucson Youth Development. I've been in several roles as well, but my current role is the director of marketing and development.
Let's start there. I want to know about grant writing. Okay, a lot of organizations fail to have that grant writer, and there's an importance in that. Michael, I'm gonna start with you. What is the importance of a grant writer? Because Linda already knows it all because she was that. But how important do you think a grant writer is for an organization?
It's huge, and especially for organizations like ours that depend on federal, state grants, other types of grants. I'm not convinced that our organization would have flourished for all these years, or even still be around without competent folks, and it's many people. And there's lots of reasons, and that's one of them that I'm excited Linda has returned, and Linda was here previously. Is I really think that it's a lifeline to our financial sustainability because like it or not, in the nonprofit world, there is that fiscal aspect. You have to be able to pay the bills, keep people employed, have money to do the programs you want to do and the outreach. So to me, it's vital to have a good grant writing person.
Love that. And Linda, you've been in the space doing the grant writing. Like, what are some of the things people need to know about grant writers and how important they are to an organization?
Well, obviously, for the reasons that Mike mentioned, I also think it's important to grant writers really help develop the language for the organization, the voice, what exactly our programs consist of from the start to the end. And that's super
Hmm.
important, every single facet of what we do. We need a narrative for each one of our programs if we're going to go out and solicit those things for support. So I think a grant writer is extremely important, not only for those resources, but help to build the voice for the organization. And then other people within the organization have a cohesive language that they can also go and use as a resource for the organization to evolve and build.
And when you think about a grant writer,
Mhm.
I guess it's almost like dating, right? You got to find the right grant writer. What does a right or good grant writer look like? So we're talking about the organizations that say, you know what, maybe we should definitely go into that direction. What is that good grant writer assets? What should they have?
Well, obviously, strong writing skills, right? The ability to be able to communicate in writing. I was just joking with Mike right now that my forte is usually not in front of the camera. I'm usually behind, behind the scenes. So you need to have some kind of skills. But I think also too, you really have to know the population that you're serving. You really have to know your programs. You really have to know not only that need within your organization, but how is it also benefiting the community as a whole? So I would say a good grant writer consists of all those things of also knowing the community. Where are our resources? Where are the needs in our resources, or where the needs in our community that resources could fill? I just think it has to do with the good writing skills, someone who has the ambition, someone who has the heart and can speak about the population, and then someone who knows the community.
Got it. And Michael probably could second this, but you're saying you're not the good person in front of the camera, or more behind. I think you're doing great. For those that are watching, Linda, you got it going on right now. Okay, maybe you should do more in front of the camera and
Thank
stuff,
you. I
right, Michael?
appreciate you.
We were talking about that when we joined.
Oh, that's the conversation I had jumped in. That's what we need to have. No, I think it's cool. Someone told me, and I have to take this now, but someone told me that a leader taught him that this is where comfortable is at, right? This is us sometimes, and there's a whole big world out here, right? And if you just get uncomfortable, the
I do.
world starts to open up. And I think Linda, the more storytelling, the more you do get in front. I think that passion and purpose that we talk about, right? It's in you, and it's now for others to realize that passion and purpose that we have. Because I believe that leaders, when we're leaders, and both of us here are leaders, people are looking at the work that we do, and we are actually fertilizing the future that way by just being us at times. That's why I love that I was able to have this conversation with two of you guys here today, because there's some leadership perspective from the both of you guys. Before we get to the leadership, Michael, if you can kind of just give us a little bit about what the organization is doing in the community. What are the programs that you guys have, so people just know more about that?
Sure. So we're kind of twofold. And I think we're really uniquely positioned here in Southern Arizona and possibly across the world in that there are nonprofits that do what we do in terms of workforce development programs for youth. That's the historical legacy of TYD. My first experience with TYD was as a youth participant. I was a senior in high school, had trouble finding work, and I was paid to stay after school. I was on the school newspaper. I was already staying after school. But TYD gave me that experience of being able to get paid $5 an hour, which was a lot back then. Aging myself here, but that was my first experience. So we provide those types of programs, youth workforce development programs for some students. It might be workforce training. It might be like me, their first employment experience. And so we've done that for, and again, that's the historical legacy of TYD. Most of our time as an organization has been spent in workforce development, work readiness type programs through various funding sources. But then more recently, we also operate two alternative charter high schools. And I know that's a mouthful, but alternative schools are often viewed in like a pejorative way as less than. And I know we'll get into this undoubtedly later, but alternative is important. And then here in Arizona, there are traditional public schools, which is what are most common, but then we also have charter schools. So we're alternative and charter. So that's really what we offer here in the Pima County area.
Why that combination? Why was that so important?
Well, so one of our longtime board members always talks about this. Through our workforce development programs, we realized in servicing thousands of youth over the years that there was definitely a need for education and in some cases remedial, not in a pejorative way, just a, hey, some students are behind or maybe need an alternative pathway or a smaller school. I definitely, while I was never in an alternative school, I am the poster child for alternative. I have a short attention span. I don't know what it was when I went to high school. I struggled, not in the way that a lot of our youth struggle. I just made dumb choices. But I think I would have really flourished in a smaller school. And so, anyway, through the workforce development programs, we identified as an organization, hey, there's a need here. There's really because back then it was like the traditional public schools. And if you didn't fit, maybe there's an alternative program, but that was kind of it. And so, when the charter school movement blew up in the 90s, that was really TYD's focus of, hey, let's start providing the education ourselves and kind of a twofold approach.
Love it. So how many students are you guys seeing on a yearly basis?
So it varies. Brick and mortar right now, we've got about 50 kids between our two high schools, in person, 50 total. And that is super small. It's one of the great things about what we do. We have capacity to serve more. We do have about 350 through an online program. And we've been doing this since pre-COVID, working with a third party to provide services for students that just need an asynchronous, I don't have to be in school 8 to 4 Monday through Friday. I can log in, do my coursework on Saturday or whatever I can. They might be raising children. They might be helping support their parents as caregivers in the home. They might, there's a million reasons why they might need that opportunity. So on the school side, we're probably around 400 served each year.
Yeah, okay, that's good. And Linda, how important is it to reach people at where they're at? Because I know Michael just mentioned that, and that is very important. Oh, why do you feel that that is important?
Well, we talk about alternative, right? Alternative just means different way. That's all it means. It just means meeting from an educational perspective, just meeting the student exactly where they're at. They may need different support than the traditional high school student. They may be having things, barriers that they need addressed, kind of in that basic hierarchy of needs before they can actually really achieve success in their academics.
Think we might have lost her. Michael, you
I
want to
think
pick
we
up on?
lost Linda.
Yeah, you want to go
Yeah.
ahead and pick up on that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what Linda was saying is absolutely true. Less than or different, let me rephrase that. Different does not have to mean less than.
Mhm.
I hear a lot of times in schools, people will say, well, at a normal school. And it's like, well, normal for whom? Then by definition, anything that's not normal is abnormal. And so, for us, I mentioned myself, I was a poster child for an alternative school. I fell through the cracks in a large high school. There were caring adults there, but when you've got a class load, a caseload of 300, 30 kids per class, 400 kids throughout the day, it's easy for one or two or three to fall through the cracks. And so, for a lot of our kids, I think the small environment of our schools, and I know we'll inevitably talk about what does TYD look like down the road. We want to serve as many youth as we can, but I don't want to lose that small approach that we have because I think it's something that we do well in schools and organizations like ours do well. You're not dealing with 500 other kids in a school. Our student to teacher ratio with about 25, 30 kids at each school and 4 to 5 teachers and multiple staff members is very small. And so, I think at a larger school, 20 to 1 would be a great ratio. 25 to 1 might be standard. We're like 3 to 1, 2 to 1. And I just think that immediate attention that our kids get and the care is something that I don't want to sacrifice. And I think it's an area of need in any area or community, but especially ours.
I want to go to something you mentioned a few times. Yourself fall through the crack. What does that mean for those that may not even have an idea?
Yeah, so it's a good question. I did not have the life experiences that some of our students might be going through. I had two parents in a home who did the best they could to take care of me. They provided for me. We didn't have everything, but they sacrificed so that my sister and I could be successful. And for me, I didn't have a lot of those life experiences of economic struggles. Again, we didn't have it all, but my sister and I were taken care of. And so I didn't. Oops, sorry about the camera. I didn't have the same experience that a lot of our kids had, but I fell through the cracks in that I could miss school. I could, ditch and go to the mall, and just kind of make boneheaded decisions you do when you're 13, 14. Your brain's not
Mhm.
fully developed. It's like I fell through the cracks, I think, in a lot of ways. Academically and attendance, there just wasn't the follow-up, back in the day. And again, I'm not knocking the folks at my high school who took, I think, as good care of me as they could. Just when it was a high school of 2,000 other kids. And so it was much easier to fall through the cracks. Where I think if I was in a smaller environment like ours, it's much more difficult to fall through the cracks with such a small staff to student ratio.
No, that was actually a good way to put it. And I only asked that question, man, because you are right. It is so easy for us that may need that extra attention, to just make us feel like we're the bad kid. Like, and I think I felt that a lot in growing up, like I was the bad kid, but in reality, life was really lifing for me at home. So I completely, when you said fall through the cracks, I just want you to kind of explain that because not everyone goes through that, right? That's not everybody's story, but I love that you were able to kind of put into those words. Um, Linda, the why, like you mentioned, Michael mentioned you leaving and coming back to an organization like that, like this. Why? What was it that brought you back?
Well, so when I left because I wanted to be with my child. Was a new mom, and so I didn't. I left. It was bittersweet, and I always thought maybe I could come back. And when Mike invited me back, and I came back, I realized that the culture was still very much the same of what 2AD has been all these years. It's pretty cool because there's been a number of leaders and there's been a number of changing faces throughout the years, and there's been some who have stayed for a very long time. And somehow the culture of Tucson Youth Development remains real strong in that we put the youth first and that we are mission oriented and that our staff really care, not only about the students that they're serving or the youth that they're serving. They care about their families. They care about anything that's restricting them from being able to be their best selves. And I think that, everybody says, we have a caring environment. Tucson Youth Development really does have a very caring environment. Our programs director, through all the changes throughout the years, he's been there for 20 years. And he's just amazing. And so there's a lot of staff like that who've really given so much of their lives um, in a really passionate way that keeps me very connected to Tucson Youth Development. And, being able to see the kids, I before, I used to be able to work a lot more with the interns, not as much now, but just getting those relationships with them and seeing them flourish after the fact is just something that you can't really explain unless you experience it. And I'm sure all the teachers experience it every single time they have kids, walking off from graduation. It's a beautiful thing, and the culture remains really strong at Tucson Youth Development as far as serving the youth, and I adore that.
I love that. How much did Michael pay you to say that though?
Not enough.
He did it.
No, s- so good again, right? Michael, like, oh, she's so good with her words. Um,
Absolutely.
I want to know,
Aw, thank
Michael, why did you make the call back to Linda? Obviously, there's a good leadership quality there that she had, which is why you called her back. What was it?
Thank you for the question. I was hoping I would have a chance to talk about that. So Linda and I worked together previously. I was originally a college career advisor when I came here, and then I moved into like an interim principal role. But I was serving as one of our school principals when Linda left, and I certainly understood why she left. And then when I moved into this role, when my predecessor retired at the end of 2020 during the COVID-19 pandemic, I was honored and blown away to that the board invited me to serve as the executive director. But in the back of my mind, all these years in this role, I kept thinking, we need Linda back, and I kept flirting with my mind with like, I got to reach out, I got to reach out. And I don't know, Linda, if you remember this, there was a time when you and I kind of connected. I think it was at like Instagram DMs, and we chatted a little bit.
Yeah,
And I almost asked at
yeah.
that point in time, but I wasn't sure that life experiences, for you and just for us as an organization were right. But it was last year that I just knew, and I knew exactly who. I didn't post the position. I went right to Linda because I knew she was the right person for the job, but I wasn't sure with she has a lot going on. At some point, she needs to tell you all the things that I don't know how she does all this. Anna works for us too, and she's amazing at everything she does. I'm convinced she never sleeps. But I was hoping that she would take the meeting and at least entertain the offer, and she's done that. And I tell you, since she's been back, it's she describes it as like that long lost cousin that's back again, and it feels better than that. But it feels like a piece that was missing all these years. And, as we emerged from COVID, obviously we had to kind of prioritize certain things. We had some longtime staff members leave. So we had a lot of juggling going on internally. But I'm just so grateful that she's back because Linda spoke earlier about in grant writing, and I think this describes her a lot in her role. Um, I'm not knocking people that provide grant writing services that are remote or outside, but I think an organization as beautiful and historic as ours, to really understand it. And Linda talked a lot about the caring and the way that we approach not only each other as staff and colleagues and collaborators, but also the youth and families we serve. Linda has such a good pulse on that being within the organization. And so anyway, I'm to the moon and back that she even entertained and took the meeting, let alone said yes. I'll.
I think Linda's turning red over there or something.
I am
We need to
very red
stop
over
it.
here. I appreciate y'all.
No, I mean, it's the work that you do, right, Michael? And I think sometimes I'm so bad at actually accepting kind words, and I know right now, Linda, while we're live, is like, "Holy crap, y'all really doing this to me?" Because I don't know how to take it myself. But it is, and not that we need it, but it's just so cool to know that someone else sees us because sometimes we do feel like we're alone in this space as leaders. We feel like we're alone in this space, and especially when you're doing like good work, sometimes it's so hard to keep going because you forget the why. And then when someone can kind of paint that picture of why and how valuable you are, you're like, damn, like I feel appreciative. What I mean, I've left jobs because I didn't feel valued. Clearly, you
Yes.
value Linda. You called her
Yep.
back. Linda valued the organization as well, and also you as an individual, because she wouldn't have came to work for anybody, right? She knew Michael was at the head of the table. Michael, what are some of the things, man, that were poured into you that you take leadership wise that you still implement today?
So yeah, and I to me this starts with my parents, right? My parents always taught me the importance of serving other people and trying to leave the community a little bit better than you found it. And my parents both did that in their parenting with my sister and I. My father was a longtime school teacher in the community that my parents went to and the schools I went to, and I joked earlier about my adolescent days, when I went to the same school district and sometimes the same school where my father taught. And so when I was in high school, my dad's was a middle school teacher, but when I was acting up in high school, being,
Yep.
an idiot doing the bad decision, making the bad decisions I made, when they would look at this is old school, right? There were no cell phones or anything. They would look up parents, and when they see one parent works for the district, that's the one they call. And I was always like, "Oh, call my mom, call my mom." But my parents, in their own way, my dad obviously being an educator, but my parents in their own way really instilled in me the importance of serving others and serving your community. And my parents lived that. My dad was not too good enough to send us to the same schools that educated him and my mom and that he worked in, and so that spoke a lot to me. In terms of leadership, I've had some amazing leaders who have just built upon that, the idea of selflessness, and you do whatever needs to be done. If that's picking up, random paper outside on the ground just so that, the front entrance looks nice, that's what you do. If it's doing, fixing the copy machine that's jammed, that's what you do. If it's driving over to a school because they need admin coverage, that's what you do. And it's not about you, it's about the organization and the mission. And so I am who I am because of many people who, throughout my life, even during my weird adolescent days, who loved me and held me accountable, and really instilled in me the importance of serving others. And so, to me, being able to be a part of this organization in any capacity is I don't know, it's just like a dream come true. And I'm honored to be here and be a small part of this historic legacy of Tucson Youth Development.
You guys are so good. I love it. And when I think about representation and what that actually is, it's someone like yourself that could understand that you weren't the best, but look where I'm at today. And now you allow someone else to realize, like, okay, I get it. Maybe, I am who I am today, but look where Michael got. I could be that, right? And you guys being in these spaces and really pouring that, fertilizing the future is what I like to say. How cool is it? Because we were once young and we were lost. And as you mentioned, Michael, someone seeing something in us before we were seeing something in ourselves. And how cool is that? That now you guys are on the reverse side of that. You guys are now able to pour into somebody else that maybe don't see the value of him, that maybe doesn't know their worth yet, right? Because but you guys are that. Um, Linda, why are you so giving? Where's your heart come into all this? Because you're also a very given, passionate purpose. It looks like a person. Looks like Michael says you do a lot for the community and a lot of work outside of just his organization. Why?
That's a good question. It's just who I am. Yeah, my philosophy is you treat the CEO the same way you're going to treat a janitor, and I live on that philosophy. And it helps me like with everything. I just think everybody's deserving of opportunities and everybody's deserving of people who believe in them, at least one person, especially kids. There's lots of science behind this that if a child has a secure attachment, at least one secure attachment, and it can be through seasons, it doesn't have to be from, the beginning of birth, that same person. It can be a strong person throughout seasons of their life. And again, there's science with this, that they are a lot more successful if they have one person that believes in them. And I think just it's everybody's God-given right to have that. Just, I do.
Right. Yeah. And who taught you this? Who poured all this into you?
Family, my family, I'm similar to Mike in that, my parents were very hardworking people, and I didn't know that we didn't have a lot until I was older because they always provided for us. And then, even being a young woman in her teens who had two stable parents who very much wanted to help me, I was all over the place for whatever reason. And I always say if people judge me by my actions when I was a teenager, I wouldn't have any friends right now, right? I wouldn't have anybody who cared about me. And
True.
I look back, yeah, and I look back on that, and I think about even sometimes how I treated my parents when they were trying to help me, or school folks when they were trying to help me, and I'm like, dang, I am so blessed that nobody actually gave up on me. That people, I mean, there were some, right?
Yes.
But for the most part, the people who mattered did not give up on me. And that happened in the school and work setting as well. So for me, I joke about this all the time. I still have nightmares, not dreams, nightmares that I'm not going to graduate from high school because I was threading that line. And at that time, there's an interesting story. At that time, alternative schools weren't their own thing. I'm that old. And you would get alternative education through the public school. And I remember I was getting my basically finishing my credits because I was so far behind through a packet program
Okay.
through Ace Charter High School, which is a Tucson Youth Development school. But I graduated from a public school because that was the setup at that time. And that was on a whim. I'm so surprised I graduated. And I'm smart. I was smart then. I'm smart now. I just could not focus for whatever reason. Um, and then I was enrolled in workforce development programming as well. It's the same programming, the Pima County umbrella that Mike talks about. I was in the same type of program. He got set up with Tucson Youth Development. I was through with another organization called Tucson Urban League, which is no longer in our city anymore. And I really feel like those counselors, those case managers, who put me in the different positions, they listened, they cared, and I really feel like it had such a great impact on me throughout life that I always talk about it now. I still to this day talk about it now, how the workforce development programs kept me from going to the other side where I didn't need to be. And so it's carried with me throughout all these years. And then I became a mom, a little older in life. I became a mom, which I'm glad because I feel like I'm a lot much more mature. And all these things that I went through as a child, like in schooling, and um, I just wanted different for my daughter. And so it kind of just aligns with everything that I am working for an organization that provides alternative education, having the mindset in the front that I know that if my daughter needs a different type of education, a different type of model, I'd be willing to do that for her, getting her involved in programming and in the community at an early age because hormones happen. I think that's what happened to me. And it just has kind of followed me throughout life. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, no, it not only does it answer the question, it also puts a lot of us that are listening and Michael probably in the same category. It's like, man, we're not alone, right? Like I remember walking out the last day of high school and I was skating by, first of all. I graduated like a 2.0, but I also didn't pass the standardized test, one of the standardized testing. So as I was walking out, to me, I was just receiving a certificate of completion and I was okay with that, believe it or not. I was just excited that I finally did my time per se, right? And as I was walking out, they told me, Efrain, you actually passed, and cool, even more exciting to actually walk that. But I'll tell you what else I did because the people that, as I'm 36 years old now, but the first time that I even knew that I was a leader was because I was running a Subway. First of all, how life would do this. God never thought I'd work in fast food. Subway's damn near close, right? So I worked at a Subway and I just love to work because at home, home is homing, right? So let's say that. So I prefer to work. Call me. I'm that guy that's going to pick up hours, all that good stuff. Clearly, someone seen it, and there was a district manager that says, "Hey, man, I think you could be a manager." I'm 19 years old now, running a Subway. Someone's seen something in me, and from that, the trickle effect, and then from there, I ended up on Undercover Boss, and then I'm hearing someone tell me, I was 20 years old when I heard someone tell me, "If my son grows up to be anything like you, I'll be a happy father." And that's Mr. Don Furman, Chief Development Officer of Subway, that I was still friends with. We talk about that person in those seasons, right? And we can all share those stories, man. So it's so cool that we are all in the same boat. We were all these adolescents that, if you judged us for that, we probably wouldn't have friends. But that we took also those moments and realized, that's not who we are, and how can we be better? Because someone told us, my wife, I always give kudos to my wife at that early age because I tell you all this success, but there was still so much trauma that I was living with. And it was her that allowed me to realize, like, yo, I'm with you through it all, with the baggage and all. I didn't realize I was carrying on baggage, Michael. I said, oh, wait a minute. And we were able to really go through that. And not that we're perfect, but we realize how important one life is. We're so much grateful for the opportunities that someone provided us, and even for our parents that stuck with us. So I say that gentleman that gave me the opportunity for Subway when I was 19, I called him just last week. And I said, "Hey, I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you for seeing something in me as a leader when I know that I was stubborn and I was so hard to work with." And then I called the other manager that was like a father figure to me. And I know I gave him crap. I was always arguing, "Why do you make me close? You told me I was," and he stuck with me. He says, and he would tell me, like, you got to be patient, right? And those people that just were patient with me, I've learned patience. So thank you, Linda. No, you answered a lot of the questions, not just for me, but anybody that's watching and listening. So again, I can't stress it enough, Linda. You got to do more storytelling, okay? I
Oh,
just know that
well, let
Michael
me
is about
tell
to
you
open
one
up a
more
whole new.
story. And I'm
Go
gonna
ahead,
tell
go
you
ahead,
one
tell
more
me.
story of how I actually really got a nonprofit. I was 19 years old. and I graduated high school obviously when I was 18, and I was still kind of lingering. I was doing okay, but I wasn't really doing much, right? And I didn't know what I wanted to do. I'd already failed out of a community college for the first semester. I mean, I don't know. And my aunt, my godmother, said, "I'm going to set you up with an entry level um, position, just the basic of basic, in a nonprofit, because I want you to see the world." And I'm like, "How am I going to see the world in a nonprofit?" Right? And I was 19, and she got me an interview, and I hit it off with my boss at that time. She gave me a chance with someone very inexperienced. Like my time, I was 19 years old. I didn't have any training, and she gave me a chance. She had me shadow a case manager, and then with the promise that if I passed my probationary period, I could start working with people in case management. And the nonprofit that I was working for was homeless services, and what an eye opener. Because it wasn't just homeless services. Like, we think about, like, chronic folks on the street or whatever. No, we were talking about families and babies. And as a 19-year-old, it was very much like, whoa, I am really blessed. I've had two parents here who have not given up on me. I have support system. I have all the potential in the world. Um, and it just really opened my eyes. And I never left nonprofit after that. I've always worked in youth. I knew after that I didn't want to do nonprofit, but I knew I wanted to be in youth. And so the trajectory of my career has always been something in services for youth. And that's really how I got started in nonprofit, was my aunt telling me, "I want you to see something," because she had been working for Tucson Urban League for
Love it.
so many years, and she had been trying to tell me, like it's so much worse, Mija. You can do it. You can get out there. You can do it. And I needed to see it myself. Honestly, I needed to see babies being taken away from their parents, or
Um,
people their homes being evicted from their homes with nowhere to go, for me to understand the bigger world out there, and figure out a way that I can contribute to it. And I just stayed. That's my story.
I love it because we don't know what we don't know, and
Yeah.
Linda, I also think that one person, one moment, and one story changes someone's life, and clearly you had a little bit of both, right? You didn't know what you didn't know. That one person, that one moment, that one story changed your life, and here you are still doing that work all these years later. I wouldn't say all these because that makes you feel old, so I would say just a few years later.
I earned it.
Listen, I just wrap this up, Michael. Great conversation. But Michael, where do you see now the organization? You have a great right hand woman, man, that is obviously sees the vision just as clear as you see the vision. Knowing the need is much more than what you guys just have currently. There's the bigger need. What do you see? I love to hold people accountable. So next time we're talking, Michael, you're telling me like, yeah, we were able to accomplish it. What is it?
So first and foremost, we're as a nonprofit, we're always looking for additional funding that we can. There's less and less funding out there right now. It is what it is. We've had to, as an organization, not only with the staff but just overall, do more with less. And we're always going to be doing anything we can. But I would love to grow our workforce development programming. We do work with our local county, which is great. I'd love to expand that. We've done some pilot programming thanks to Linda, since she's been back with small grants with our charter high school students. But I'd love to expand that, just so that we can do more over time. So hopefully we win the metaphorical or literal lottery for nonprofits. But I just want to see us extend and diversify our workforce development programs. And that while we meet a need right now, we all know that there are more and more needs out there, and more things that we can do. And then on the school side, we want to, obviously we need more students. But again, as I mentioned earlier, we have capacity to serve more students, but I don't want to have 1,000 students at one school. I guess that's a good problem to have, but I don't want to lose the essence of who we are, and lose that real intimate connection that our amazing school staff have with the kids. Because I'm convinced the larger class sizes and the larger enrollment is good for a lot of reasons, but can be inadvertently negative, because then you kind of lose that touch. And again, I think our population needs that small, intimate environment. So I hope for that, for us in the 10 years down the road, that we're thriving, our workforce development programs are diversified, and we're serving more youth in different ways. And I hope that our schools are a little bit more full than they are now, but not so much that we lose who we are.
How long have you been the executive director now?
This is my 5th year.
Okay, okay. So yeah, man, you got a lot of years left. That means you're still a baby at this role right here. All
I'm
right,
glad
good,
one of
good.
us is convinced, but thank you.
I appreciate you guys. I really appreciate the conversation. Where can people find out more about what you guys are doing? Is there social media? You guys on LinkedIn? What is the website?
Yeah, so our website is tucsonyouth.org. We are on socials. We're primarily on Instagram at Tucson Youth Development. And then we were on Facebook as well at TYD Stars.
Love it. Well, guys,
Yeah.
I truly appreciate Michael, Linda for being leaders that are authentically yourselves. I can tell by the way you guys show up. I just have to leave you with Michael. I see all these stickers in the back. What is that one that is there one that meaningful to you back there, man? What is that one that you
Me
just enjoy
church.
looking at? Maybe some positive vibes or something.
So I'll shout out Traeger. Traeger is a grill company. They're the original pellet grill company. When I moved into administration, this is nothing work related, but when I moved into the principal role, I got a Traeger grill and I started cooking, and that's my like therapy after hours. I love to go out there and cook. Sometimes I mess stuff up, sometimes it works out. But yeah, Traeger is the orange sticker on the top.
Oh,
Buying
okay,
that grill
okay.
changed my life. It's like a therapy. My wife doesn't cook anymore. It's that's my thing. You can tell I'm a
That
sticker
is.
nerd.
No, that's good. Every time I go to Walmart or Sam's Club, I'm looking at the flat grills that you can like, more hibachi style, I guess. I don't know. I even cook at home, but Michael, it might be a game changer. I might buy it and I might be the one cooking. So
Yep, those griddles are amazing. You can do so much with them. So yeah,
I'm
get
waiting
get
for it to.
yourself one.
It's at 250 right now, but I am very frugal with my money, so I'm waiting for it to go down a little bit more. Then I was like, I'll build something around it. I'll make it all nice, and maybe I'm the calling Michael. Hey man, I'm over here on this grill burning stuff. What do I do? No, that's cool. That's cool.
He
Well,
cooks for
guys,
us
if you
too.
guys are still, well, we're invited to the cookout. It looks like
Yeah,
Linda.
we
Anytime,
just had one
anytime, brother.
last week.
I love it. Guys, if you guys are still watching, make sure you guys do like, subscribe, and comment. These are the conversations that we're having with leaders all throughout our country that are doing some amazing work. So if you guys also want to tap into what they're doing or connect with them, they've given up the social, they've given up the website, connect with them. And Michael and Linda, I'm looking forward to what you guys do next and the growth that you guys have. I'm here for Know Your
Thank
Wrestling. This is Michael and Linda. I keep saying Know Your Wrestling, but it's really Hart Hustle Podcast. I'll tell you about Know Your Wrestling after this. All right, guys, I'll see you on the next one. Later.